Who could be the next big-time prospect to make a commitment to Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs? That's what I'm going to talk about in today's video. There's a lot of major targets out there who have set commitment dates, and then other guys who may be leaning Georgia's way who could commit at any point. So we're going to break all that down. Of course, CJ Wiley, big-time wide receiver that Georgia wanted badly. I think it's still in the running for him. We'll see how this goes. He committed to Florida State yesterday. And there are two wide receivers that I think have a chance to possibly jump on board soon. One of them is Tyler Williams. He's a four-star wide receiver from the state of Florida. He's 6'2", 190 pounds. He's not ranked super high. So if he jumps on board, I know a lot of Georgia fans are not going to be super thrilled with it. But this kid can play. And I do think this could be somewhat of a Ryan Montgomery situation, right? Matt Zollers, Georgia's big target at quarterback, commits to Missouri. Georgia decides, hey, we're not going to play the Julian Lewis game forever. So Ryan Montgomery, you've got the green light now to jump on board. And boom, he jumped on it. So this could be a situation with Tyler Williams where CJ Wiley, commits to Florida State. A possible spot opens up. He maybe did not have the green light earlier. Now he does. He caught just 26 passes last year, but he scored 14 touchdowns, right? This guy can play and he can score. He took those 26 catches for 585 yards. So he is a big play weapon that was in Athens this past weekend. Here's what he told me. He said, my favorite part was meeting with the staff and talking about, my possible future coaches and talking about my future. Their pitch was that they can fully develop me and get me to the NFL while winning championships. That's true. Right? Receivers that go to Georgia, whether they end up transferring out or not, they get better. And a lot of guys get a lot better, and they leave Athens, recently with a championship and a high chance of them hearing their name called in the NFL draft. He said, I will be committing soon, but not exactly a date is set yet. And then he tweeted last night, announcement tomorrow. Is that a commitment? Is it a top 20? Is it a top 10? God, I hope not, okay? Give me a top 3 or give me a commitment, okay? I don't care about your top 10, your top 12, your top 15. Don't care. Narrow it down, make a decision if you're planning a big announcement. But he's definitely got to keep an eye on. So, number 56 wide receiver prospect in the country. Not going to wow anyone as far as his ranking goes, but if Georgia accepts him, the guy can play. Another wide receiver to keep an eye on, Landon Ralen. I've told y'all about him several times already. He was at a 7-on-7 tournament in Athens in mid-June. Tore it up. I mean, dude was crushing DBs all day long. He left with an offer. He was in Athens this past weekend for an official visit. He's another guy that, if he gets the green light, kid plays in North Oconee, right? Bogart, right outside of Athens. 3-star kid who is coming off a really big season, over 1,000 yards, 10-plus touchdown catches, runs a 4.4. He ran a 4.4 at multiple camps. So I don't care what your ranking is. If you're 6'1", 190, running a 4.4, and you know how to catch the ball and stretch the field, you're going to be just fine at a place like Georgia if you continue to develop. And again, that 3-star ranking is, people are going to just overlook it, and they're going to say, well, Georgia didn't get their top guys. Now they're settling for this guy. He maybe did start off as a plan C, D option, but sometimes you have to go down. That's just how it is, but he is a good player. This could be a situation where he says, you know what? I've got an opportunity to jump on board now. I'm going to take that chance. So he's another guy. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he or Tyler Williams, one of these wide receivers that maybe didn't have the green light to jump on board earlier, now with CJ Wiley, who I believe was probably their top target, right? I'm not saying he wasn't. With him committed to Florida State, that maybe opens up a possibility from one of these wide receivers. But they're still going to push CJ Wiley. They're going to recruit him. They're going to try to get him on campus. Kirby doesn't care that this kid's coming to Florida State. He's sitting, okay, challenge accepted, okay? This ain't over yet, and I'm going to make sure it's not over. So he's got a spot in this class regardless, but it wouldn't surprise me if one of these two wide receivers jumps on board soon. Maybe it's another receiver. We'll see how it goes. As far as guys who have a commitment date, Chris Ewald, 4-star DB. I wrote about him on DAWG Post. If you're a member, you already know what I'm talking about. You're in the loop always. If you're on DAWG Post, you are one of the smartest Georgia fans in the world. That's just a fact. South Florida. He told me that, hey, I'm supposed to commit this Thursday, but after my official visit to Georgia, I might not. I might take some more time thinking things over. long, athletic, plays with swagger, man. Those South Florida DBs, that's where you want to go. If there's one area in the country where you say that's the only place you can go get defensive backs, it's South Florida, and that's where this kid is from. Miami has been the team trending for a while. If he does commit on Thursday, I think Miami will be the pick. If he decides to back off and take more time, that means Georgia's really made an impression. But he's a 4-star cornerback from South Florida to keep an eye on. Dijon Lee is a 5-star cornerback. He's committing on June 28th. So that is on Friday. I think Alabama's going to land him. Georgia really, I think they gave it a good shot. I think they're going to end up, number 2 for him. But everything I'm hearing, I think he told the Alabama staff silently that he wants to jump on board, and I think he'll do it publicly on Friday. Tavian Wallace is a linebacker from Jessup, Wayne County. I think Florida State's been the team linked with him for a while. I got some calls and texts from Florida sources when Zayden Walker jumped on board. Hey, with Zayden Walker on board, Jaden Perlotti on board, does that mean Georgia's still recruiting Tavian Wallace? I think they'd love to take Tavian Wallace. They're not telling that guy no, from what I've gathered. But I do think he's probably leaning out of state. I think he's been a bigger target for most of his recruitment for Florida State and Florida. Travis Smith Jr., 4-star wide receiver. I've liked Georgia's chances for a while now, but I also said that was C.J. Wiley, so we'll see how it goes. But I still think Georgia's in a good spot for him. He's been to Athens a ton. He knows he's a top priority. They've been pushing for his commitment. Took a recent official visit to Knoxville, to Tennessee, and I think that's probably Georgia's biggest threat. I don't see him at Auburn or Alabama. I think if he doesn't end up at Georgia, I think he'll end up at Tennessee. But right now, if he had to make a decision today, my pick would be for Georgia. He's making a decision on July 13th, 6'4", 190. Incredibly productive last year. Tremendous ball skills, can leap, can jump. Sure-handed kid out of Westlake High School in Atlanta. Definitely got to keep an eye on. Cortez Smith, interior offensive lineman out of Parkview High School. Guard, center type. He's been linked with Georgia for a while. I think if he still has the green light, like I think he does, to jump on board, that's another strong, stout, fundamentally sound technician at center and guard who moves well, who can pull in the run game, can bury defenders into the ground. He's strong. Again, he's not the biggest guy, but he moves well. So I think he is a really nice option at guard, probably center if he were to jump on board, play next to a guy like Dontrell Glover, maybe Juan Gaston Jr. Out of Westlake High School. He doesn't have a set commitment date right now, but he's a guy who could jump on board whenever he wants. And that's down to Georgia and Tennessee as well. But Mount Gaston is massive. 6'7", 6'8", 350. Same with Nick Brooks, who played at St. Francis in Alpharetta, from Iowa, moved back to Iowa, committed to Iowa, backed off his commitment to Iowa. That was the biggest 15-year-old I've ever seen in my life. It was Amarius Mims. Then I saw Nick Brooks play before his sophomore season at St. Francis, and I couldn't believe that kid was 15 years old. Couldn't even drive yet, but his hands were massive. Speaking of massive, this is a massive product right here. I'm not even mentioning it until the 8.5-minute mark. Should have done it earlier. Get your Bulldog statue today, collegebronze.com. Don't miss out on the discount. That just rolls off the tongue. Makes me smile every time. Yeah, all the information's in the description below. Promo code DAWGPOST. Don't forget that. DAWGPOST. Get yours today because you want to have it for the football season. Got to tell your neighbors that you pull for the Dogs. Make sure you got an American flag a flag for the United States flag, Bulldog statue. That's how it's done. So Cortez Smith, definitely a name to know. He's committing on July 20th, as is Bryce Davis out of North Carolina, Grimsley High School. One of the top edge defenders in the country. Georgia, Clemson, Duke. He was hurt last season, but he told me that he loves the fact that Georgia kept recruiting him. He was still hurt, and Georgia's still pushing for him. They've got 2 edge defenders on board already, Darren Ickenogben, Isaiah Gibson. So maybe this starts to trend in another direction. But for a while, I thought Georgia was in a really good position, and they still are if they push for his commitment. They don't necessarily have to because they've got 2 really good ones on board right now, but still a name to know. Lagonza Hayward's a 4-star safety from Toombs County, Lyons, Georgia. South Georgia, Middle Georgia, y'all let me know. Middle of nowhere, right? And I say that in the nicest way possible, but it's in the middle of nowhere. This kid can play. He has all muscle. He's got size, athleticism. makes a lot of plays, offense, defense, special teams for them in that small town. But he's a really good safety prospect that Georgia really impressed when he was on his official visit. Tennessee was the team I thought was in the driver's seat for a while. I think it's going to come down to Georgia, Tennessee, and Florida. Would not surprise me if he ended up in Athens right now. But he's making a decision July 27th, so about a month from today. So that could go in different directions. He says he knows where he wants to go. And it is the dead period now, but we'll see how it shakes out. I think Georgia's in a good spot here. Tennessee wouldn't surprise me. I know Florida definitely made an impression as well, but I think that could absolutely be Georgia from what I'm hearing today. Anquan Fagans is a 4-star safety from Alabama committing July 29th. He's a guy to know as well. Justice Terry could be the next to go. I think it might be closer to signing day for him. I don't think he wants to make a commitment and without it being 100%. I still like Georgia's chances. He's coming off an official visit to Alabama, but he doesn't have a set commitment date, but you never know. If he wakes up one day and says, you know what, I'm done, I'm over it, I want to go to Georgia, he can make that announcement at any point. So he's still a name to keep an eye on. I don't think he's going to be the next commitment, though. It could be one of these receivers, could be someone else who says, you know what, I'm done, I want to commit to Georgia today, get this thing over with. So we'll see, a lot of names to know. Thanks for watching this video. Hope to see you on the website where you can read about all these players and more. Get your Bulldog Today promo code DAWGPOST. All the information is in the description below in this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you over on the website.